Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome. We're nearing the end of a series all about this oil-burning Corolla. We've been trying to find a way to fix the oil burning in the most economical way. Of course, all these fixes combined have not been cheap, for me at least. But the point was to find one that worked, so that others with the same problem might be able to fix theirs more economically. What we found so far is that it at least appears Berryman B12 Chem Tool had the most positive effect on the oil burning. Now this could absolutely be debated. What if the testing order of the chemicals had been changed, or a different treatment method had been used with other chemicals? And there certainly were chemicals we did not test. And if we had, yes, the results might be different. But in our testing, the unorthodox through the spark plug holes Berryman B12 treatment seemed to have the most effect. Now, about another direction we could have gone. There is a large group of commenters out there who say we should try Restore, engine restorer and lubricant. Engine Restore is a product that's made by Amtech or Imitate, and according to the literature, it fills microscopic gaps in the cylinder wall where oil can get by, restoring your engine's good attributes and reducing oil consumption. Yes, Restore would make a great experiment for the Corolla. But we cannot do it for a couple of reasons. Firstly, and I believe I've said this before, we are trying to fix the problem with the oil burning. The problem is most likely caused by stuck piston rings and clogged oil drain back holes. And we were hoping one chemical or another would free up the piston rings and unclog those holes, thus truly fixing the problem, if that is the problem. Restore would not free up the rings and unclog the piston oil drain back holes, the two issues that are causing the oil not to stay on the side of the rings it's supposed to. But Restore would rather try to fill the gaps between the rings and the cylinder walls. Not a true fix, just basically like a drug to mask the symptoms of having the disease of stuck piston rings and clogged oil drain back holes. The second reason we can't try Restore, even as a last-ditch effort before a rebuild, is because the coating that Restore leaves on the cylinder walls would botch up a rebuild. However, for those who would love to see the Restore experiment, if, after tearing down the engine, we determine a rebuild is a viable fix, and we proceed with the rebuild, if the rebuild does not work, we will try Restore. Sound good? Okay, so at the end of the last video, I requested viewer input for the next step in the Corolla saga. The overwhelming majority said, so today, we're going to start the teardown. Before I do work that might prevent a car from being driven for a while, I like to use up all the ethanol fuel in the tank and then refill the tank with ethanol-free fuel, which will last a lot longer. All right, let's check the oil one more time before we start tearing into the engine. So we've got 650 miles on this trip so far, so it should be at the bottom dot. Yep, still using. To remove the head requires a special Torx type socket, which I had to order, and it won't be here until tomorrow. So today we're going to start with what we can do, which is dropping the oil pan and taking a look at the engine from underneath. Looks like 10mm bolts to get the oil pan off. It does have some oil on it now. It hasn't been leaking on the ground until past couple of weeks, and there's no drips per se, but it does look like the oil pan. Yeah, it's not coming from further up. I'll start with these hard to reach ones. I wonder if I'm gonna have to take out this cross member. I want to take out as little as possible, unless it's something that greatly speeds up this process. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take all these cowls off all around here, and I probably am gonna remove this brace. So I think it's gonna have to come off eventually. Wow, never seen it from this angle. Entire spotless transmission, look at that. Looks like an AC hose brace. I can totally see myself ripping off if I don't take this off first. Loosen the brace up. Oh, this wind is crazy. I got coolant on it or something. There we go. Oh, look at that, the whole engine moves. You see that? Look at that. Look at the transmission. The transmission moves. Might not be the best idea. I hope there's something else holding up this engine. Yeah, I see an engine mount up there. There must be one on the other side. There's a lot of leverage. So this brace was hooked to this engine mount, and look, that thing's seen better days. Oh well, this is as far as I'm going to take this off right now. I'm going to see if I can get the pan off with this just hanging. So this thing just pops off. You can see the flywheel under there, but I think I'll have easier access to these bolts that way. Last bolt. Alright, see if we can get this off without scratching it too much. Pick up two. Oh, there it is. There we go. Wow. So that does have a little bit of sludge buildup. You know what though? I think there is a good chance we can see piston oil drain back holes with a scope. So let's go get the scope. Side camera, nice and clean. Let's see what we can see. So the drain back hole should be at the front and back of the pistons. What am I looking at? There's part of the cylinder. So there's the bottom of the cylinder. That must be the inside of the piston. Yes. Acing. Where would the oil drain back hole be? Is that it? There at the top? That is definitely some sort of hole. If I'm in cylinder number 3, which I think I am, this one is probably clean. That one looks clean. All right, let's go up number 2. Get up in there. All right, now we're up in number 2. There is a hole. Is that plugged up? That there at the top of the screen, that's a hole, right? Doesn't look plugged up. All right, let's look at number 1. It looks like we're gonna have to look at the back of number 1 because the front is covered by the crank, and then we'll rotate the engine and try the other way. What is that? What are those 4 dots in the middle there? What is that? Oh, I see the hole. Actually, you can see it with your bare eyes. Let me get the iPhone and show you. There. All right. See that right there? That looks like a piston oil drain back hole, and it looks clear. In fact, it looks like one of the cleanest things on the piston. Again, this is cylinder number 1. There's 2 drain back holes. All right, can you see that? There's a drain back hole on each side. There's one there. That thing is clean as a whistle, at least it looks like it on this side. So what does that mean? If the piston oil drain back holes are clean. Yeah, this is number 2. And that one. They're clean all around those. That means that oil is flowing through those. There's number 3. There's the hole. Clean as a whistle around there. The other one. Clean as a whistle. Wow. Okay, well, let's go up number 4. Going up number 4. And I can already see the clean drain back holes from down here. Look at that. That thing is clean, and you can see them on both sides from this angle. So there's one there, there's one there. So the piston oil drain back holes are clean. So it's just the rings that are stuck, I guess, unless something else is wrong. So if the drain back holes are clean, that still makes me wonder if eventually the rings will get freed up. Please excuse my oily glasses. Now you just saw those oil drain back holes, and they looked like they were completely scoured around the edges, which means oil is flowing through them, and the oil, or whatever has to be the oil, detergents in the oil itself, the esters, insert your idea here. Something has cleaned those drain back holes out. So we know we got oil flowing back down through the center of the pistons, but we know the rings must still be stuck. All right, while we're out here, let's move the crank around and look at the bottoms of the cylinders. So we'll crank the pistons up and we'll look around the bottoms of the cylinders and see if there's any indication of wear there, just like we did from the top end. Interesting. All right, I'm going to crank the engine until some of these cylinders are all the way at the top. Nope. So it looks like pistons number 2 and 3 are at the bottom. So 1 and 4 must be at the top. So we should be able to look at the cylinders. All right, so we're gonna look at the front of cylinder number 1. There we go. Now we are looking at the front of cylinder number 1 from the bottom end. So let's go all the way back down to the bottom. Here we are at the bottom. Okay, that's where the piston stops. Right there. So is that where the oil is getting by? No. Look at that. Oh, look at that. That is perfect. So that is where the oil drain back holes are draining the oil back to. That spot there at the bottom of the screen. So let's come straight down. We know that's the center. And look at that. That's where it stops. You can see where that definitive line is, where the shiny metal is. And looks like there's cross hatching all through there. I think the cylinder is totally good. And the oil drain back holes are unclogged. All right, we can go up number 4 and check the same thing, but first let's see if we can see the back of this one, number 1. The low spot on the piston should be the middle, so I think we're looking at the middle. So yeah, so there's a drain back hole right there at the top. Drain back hole, you can see where it trickles down. Oh yeah, come on now. Alright, there's the bottom line. I'm not getting as good of a view on this side. There's where it drains back down, so that's the center where that oil is running down. And it looks good. Look at that cross hatching. Oh, we should go straight up. Look at that cross hatching all the way. All the way. Come on. Go up there without getting messed up. What are you hooking on? So, oh, come on now. There we go. All the way to the top. And there's the drain back hole. I'm no mechanic, but that looks good. Cylinder number 4. Okay, there's where the oil's coming down, so we're underneath the drain back holes. This should be the center. and it looks good to me. You can see the drain back hole at the top, nice and shiny inside. So something has cleaned out that drain back hole, and oil is obviously coming out of it because it's running down the cylinder right underneath the drain back holes. So that's cylinder number 1 and cylinder number 4. We know they're clear, we know the drain back holes are clear, and we know they're flowing back to the oil pan. All right, let's turn the crank around and look at number 2 and 3. I'll go up the back of number 2. We are in the cylinder. There we are. There's the piston. There's the clear drain back hole. And you can see this is the center. There's a little scratch right down the middle, like one deep scratch. But oil is definitely flowing from those drain back holes down the cylinder, and there's cross hatching all the way. There's no divots. It looks good. Let's look at the front side of it. Okay, front of number 2. Look at those clear oil drain back holes. Oh, look at that. And it comes straight down. Look at that cross hatching all the way through there. And the oil that drains from the drain back holes. Look carefully. Look at that cross hatching. You can see it through the scoring everywhere. When I move, you think, oh, there's no cross hatching. But when I stop for a second, you can see there's cross hatching. Yes, there's some scratches, but not enough that would cause the kind of oil use we're getting. It's definitely got to be the rings are stuck. And if the oil drain back holes are now clean and flowing, will the rings eventually free up, or are they worn out? Now I'm second guessing this whole thing. All right, got one cylinder left to check, number 3. This is the one that seems completely functional now. There's a drain back hole, totally clear, flowing. Right, there's the 2 cleanish spots where the oil flows. And we creep down to the bottom of the cylinder. It's just too close. We're just too close to the cylinder wall. Well, we can probably look through from the other side. Let's try that. There we go. Okay. Now we're looking from the back to the front. Now we're looking at the piston rod. Let's look around the rod. Okay. Go up further. You can see definitely got some clear drain back holes. And as far as I can tell, the cylinder looks good too. Let's see if we can turn it all the way around. Look at this side. Oh, look at that, clear. I mean, look at that clean spot on the piston. That means the drain back hole is open. Yes, it is. This is the last cylinder, folks. And all the drain back holes are clear. And flowing. There's oil coming straight down from the drain back hole sides. All right, that's it. That is it. Let me get my hat so the shine doesn't blind you. Okay, so it looks like all the oil drain back holes are clean and clear and flowing. I mean, they were just nice and shiny around there, like they've been totally cleaned out, or they've always been clean. I have no idea. You could see the cylinder wall exactly underneath the drain back holes where the oil was coming down, so there's obviously flow. It's not like they're clogged up on the outside of the piston and we just can't see it and it looks clean on the inside. No, oil is flowing from the outside of the piston to the inside of the piston. It's cleaned all that out, and it is flowing down the inside of the cylinder walls in every single cylinder. I wish we had scoped that before I started this whole video series, because that would definitely tell us something. So, note to anyone else who might want to do this experiment, who has got an oil burner and they've tried no cleaning processes whatsoever. See if you can go up from the bottom end with a scope and see if your oil drain back holes look as clean as ours do. Alright, so if the oil drain back holes are clean, are the piston rings stuck in the 3 cylinders? Or are they just worn out? So I'm going to involve y'all in this step by step. I can't go any further today because I'm awaiting a tool to take the head off. It uses a special like Torx socket head, and it's not supposed to be here until tomorrow. So right now I'm at a standstill until I get that tool. But I'm going to try to go ahead and post this video as quickly as possible, show you what I've seen today, and see what y'all think about it, what y'all have to say. It was an overwhelming vote of pull the pistons from the last video, but seeing what we see today, does that change anyone's mind? Should we maybe try the Berrymans one more time to see if that frees up the rings or speeds it up? Should we just keep trucking with some Valvoline Restore and Protect in it and see if the rings eventually let loose? I just don't know. I know some people probably think I'm just stringing you along, just trying to get some ad money, keep these videos going forever. But I'm really trying to find out. See, this is me trying to avoid, yes, I'm trying to avoid pulling the pistons, not just for my sake, because no one wants to have to rebuild their engine unless that's the kind of thing you love to do, which there are a few people out there, I'm sure there are lots of people out there that like to rebuild engines. But for the everyday common person who is just trying to get their car to work every day and they are having these kind of problems, they don't want to pull the pistons if they don't have to. So, with the oil drain back holes clean, does that change anyone's mind about going forward with the pulling the pistons? Do you think the rings are worn out? Do you think they're just stuck? Do you think they're going to get unstuck since the piston oil drain back holes are clean? Have we just not given it enough time? Do we need to give it one more go with like Berrymans or Yamalube ring free or one of these other things that so many people have recommended? I don't know. Please let me know in the comments. Again, this is going to be a vote basis, so the most votes of continuing to go forward with pulling the pistons, that's what we'll do. If now a bunch of people have changed their minds because the piston oil drain back holes are clear and we've got oil flowing back through the middle, I understand that. I have to say, I'm actually on the fence. I mean, I've already got the oil pan off, which isn't that big of a deal, but I don't want to have to take all this stuff apart again to rebuild the engine if I'm going to have to rebuild it anyways. So, but the other side of me is just saying those oil drain back holes are clean, really clean. Tough decisions. As always, thanks for watching. Please comment below, and I hope to see y'all in the next one.